Awesome. Let's talk about breathing. Just like a table may be made out of wood and a car may be made out of metal, well, singing is made out of air. Air is the very substance that voice is made out of. And unfortunately, most singers that I've come across breathe incorrectly. Even very good singers often breathe incorrectly and would be even better singers if they breathed correctly. So let's think about this intuitively. Let me give you two examples from real life where we really need air. One example is when you jump into a swimming pool or a lake. You're standing on the edge, you're getting ready to jump into the water, and you know you need air to survive under the water. How do you do that? Let's think about it. I'm standing on the edge, and here I go. I'm jumping into the water. Let me do it one more time and try to pay attention to how I breathe. What you noticed there probably was an explosive breath. Let's give another example. Let's say there's a smoke-filled room and I need to run in and save my pet or bag or whatever. Okay, here's the smoke-filled room. I'm running in. Okay, ready? And I'm back. Now, in both these scenarios, whether I'm jumping into the lake or I'm running into a smoke-filled room, I breathe the same way. Short, explosive breath. That is how you need to breathe when you sing. So, like this. La. Right? Now, I'm going to mention two songs that you can look up on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your music. One of them is When You Believe by Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. And another one is He Won't Go by Adele. Take a listen to these two songs. You may want to pause the video, or you can take a listen to them a little bit later. But what you will notice is, number one, they breathe explosively, like I just demonstrated, like jumping into a pool. Number two, you're going to notice that they breathe very frequently. If you listen to When You Believe, try to count how many words does Whitney Houston sing before taking another breath. You'll be surprised to discover that on average, she probably sings 2.5 or 3 words before taking another breath. Quite often, she sings only 1 word before taking another breath. Can you believe it? Now, it's not like she can't it's not like she can't sing a note and hold it for, a minute. She could if she wanted to. But she chooses to just sing a single word and then take another breath. Interesting. And the same with Adele. If you listen to He Won't Go, you'll notice that, oh my goodness, she only sings for like 3 seconds at a time. He won't go. And then takes another breath, even though she could definitely sing a lot longer. So I want to address this point. Why would they take breaths so frequently? Most singers out there, who aren't maybe professional or who may be using a different technique, they have the survival approach where they take a breath and then they sing and they sing and they sing and they sing until they get to the very end of the line and they're out of air, and then they take another breath to survive. There's a problem with that. As we discussed earlier, air is the very substance that the voice is made out of. What that means is, when you're full of air, it's like a carpenter with a toolbox full of tools. You have all the resources at your disposal, and you can form and shape and manipulate your voice to maximum effect. Let's call that gold quality of singing when you are full. Now, once you go from full to, let's say, 70% full, that's like having a toolbox with only 70% of the tools. And now you can only shape the voice 70% as well as you could before. So I would call this like silver quality of singing. Now let's say you chose to continue singing after that and you're down to, let's say, 35% air. Well, that's like you having a toolbox with just 35% of your tools. We want to be always full of air so that we have complete control and all resources available to shape our tone into what we want it to. So you see the difference between these two approaches. This wrong approach keeps singing until they're out of air, despite the fact that the voice is getting worse over time, right? The other approach, as I just showed, like with Whitney Houston and Adele and many others, isn't concerned with surviving. They're concerned with the quality of the sound and the ability to shape it. So they'll sing, they'll be at 100, they'll sing, and then when they're like 80% full or maybe 70% full, even though they could go on singing, they'll take another breath. So number one, explosive. Number two, frequent. I want to just mention one more thing about these two things, the explosive and frequent. Let's start with explosive. Now, a lot of my students, they hear this about explosive and then they go like, as if that was explosive. Now, that's not explosive. Explosive has to be really explosive. Like you suck the air out of the room. Let me give you one or two illustrations. If you've ever tried to mow the lawn and you try to start the engine, or maybe go on a motorboat and you start the engine there with your hand and you're like pulling and it doesn't start. You pull again and it still doesn't start. And by the fourth time you're like, and it still doesn't start. Finally, you're so frustrated that you put all of your strength into it and you pull, vroom, and the engine starts. Ideally speaking, where you usually would take one breath to sing an entire sentence, you may want to work towards taking 4 breaths for one sentence. However, I do not recommend starting there. I do recommend that if you're new to this frequent breathing technique, I would recommend just doubling it. So if normally you take 1 breath for an entire sentence, try taking 2. So you'll take a breath, you'll sing half the sentence, and then take another breath and sing the rest of the sentence. This is possible because your breaths are short and explosive, which means you can fit the breath anywhere. Let me give you an example. There's a song that goes something like this. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. Now, that's kind of like the traditional way. I only took 1 breath. I want to show you how you could take 2 breaths or 4 breaths. Okay, so that was 1 breath. Let me show you how it would go if you took 2 breaths. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. Right? Or let's try 4 breaths. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. Right? Now, if you were really crazy, you could even go like 8 breaths. I do not recommend it, but just kind of to show you how it would be possible, you could go something like this. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. Now, no one would actually do that, but I'm just trying to show you how you can easily fit breaths inside the sentence. Now, like I said before, what I do recommend is doubling the breath. So if normally you would take one breath for an entire sentence, try to take two. So I'm going to show you that one more time. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. Total adoration unto you. Now, the observant student might be wondering why I breathed in the middle of the word. I said adoration. Breath, adoration. Why didn't I say like breath, adoration? Why did I breathe in the middle of the word? And this is something I would like to talk about in the next lesson. See you there.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and like the video, because I think there are other people out there who could benefit from the content here. So let's help spread the word. Thank you.